We're live. Okay, good morning. This is our 73rd Coffee with the Commissioner. Thank you all for being here this morning. We're going to talk a lot today about hurricane preparedness because it's that time of year. And as always, we have our County Administrator, Wes Marino, here. We've got Public Safety Director, Eric Gilmore, former Emergency Manager. And then we've got our brand new Emergency Manager, Travis Tompkins, joining us this morning. Travis, how long have you been in the job now?
I guess I've been almost a month now.
Almost a month. Wow. But you've been with the county. And what was your previous job with the county before you were promoted?
I was the emergency management coordinator before that.
Coordinator. Right on. Well, like we talked about right before we went live, I looked at the National Hurricane Center front screen today, and nothing in the Gulf, nothing in the Atlantic, nothing going to form. So that's good news, right? That's a good way to start the week or the middle of the week. But with that said, we appreciate all three of you gentlemen being here this morning. And we're going to get to Travis in just a second. But first, I always like to start out and get updates from Eric and Wes. So Wes, we'll start with you this morning. Any updates from the county that you'd like to share before we start talking about hurricane season?
Sure. Good morning. It's good to be here. So yeah, we're rolling the hurricane season. It's always it's something that's always in the back of your mind, whether there's anything in the Gulf or not. But, we have a seasoned team, a veteran team, especially in public works and public safety and EMS and fire. We know how to respond. We have a plan. Eric and Travis have done a great job of putting a plan together. We've learned a lot through Hurricane Sally. And so, if you're prepared, it's not the dire, straight issue that it is in some communities. So what I would say for the citizens is be prepared. If you're in a low-lying area, you know what things you have to do, the actions you need to take. And so don't, stay in tune, don't get caught off guard. Buy that extra jar of peanut butter, buy that extra can of beans or something as you go to the grocery store. So you're not trying to do it all at one time at the last minute. But that's just the nuances of living in Northwest Florida. We live in a great community. A beautiful community, but that is one of the things that we have to be concerned about every summer as we roll in. Usually August, September timeframe, it heats up a little bit. But county news, I would say this: we came off of a fantastic Memorial Day weekend at Pensacola Beach, and here in the community as well. A lot of commemorations. But we had a large event right prior to Memorial Day weekend, and the crews worked hard to get everything ready, get the beach ready. Clean up in the Ferry Pass area, around town, downtown. So it was a good effort by the staff. We had record crowds at the beach. And ironically, this past weekend, we had an even bigger record crowd. We had 23,500 something cars go through the toll booth on Saturday. So that was huge.
Hey, Wes, can I ask you something about that? I've been curious about that. A couple of years back, we went to, cashless tolls, and there was a little bit of gnashing of teeth, but I think it's been one of the greatest things that we've done. I mean, it's just really getting rid of the people taking the money and making change and asking questions. I think that's really streamlined it. But on the other side of it, how are our collections on that? Because I know I don't get bills for a while, and then I get a bill in the mail. Finally bought a SunPass, but I still get bills in the mail for my other cars my kids drive. So collecting, what is our collection?
I don't know the exact number, but it's got to be way up. And I will check into that. I'll look into that. But our collections have to be way up. And you talk about that. If you're local here, for $20, you can get an annual pass.
Right.
You still have to have the SunPass.
Right.
You buy your SunPass, and then your $20, your annual pass links to your SunPass, and you can come and go off that beach as many times as you want to.
Now, is that just for residents, or is that anyone that lives in Escambia County?
Anybody can do that.
Okay.
Anybody can do that. But I did that. It used to be 50. We dropped it to 20, and it's a heck of a deal. If you spend a lot of time on the beach or coming and going off the island, it is really a heck of a deal. That $20 annual pass.
Yeah, I probably need to do that because I do.
Yeah, you probably save a few dollars. So we had a record day this past weekend, and I don't know where all those cars go when they get out there. But we're happy to have them out there. We're happy to have the local economy picking up. We went through a rough spell with the pandemic. So it's good for the business owners, and it's good for our local economy to see that happening. And then more importantly, we're working our budget countywide. I've been meeting with Stephen Hall, and he's just been fantastic to work with through the budget process. So he and I have been meeting regularly. I know you've been meeting with him pretty regularly. And yep. So we're coming up with some strategies to address some issues within the budget. And really, he's done a fantastic job of finding money. He's found some money.
I love it when they find money.
Yeah, it always makes it easier. It always makes it easier. And so I appreciate him working with him and working through some of those issues. And we're still trying to hire some folks in public works. It's an issue. The CDL holders are hard to come by. We're gaining traction in some other areas, but the public works is still an issue for us. We've done something this year we've never done before, and we've contracted out our holding pond mowing, and we're with round one, and then we're coming with round two. And ironically, we got a great price, and the contractor says, "Well, I didn't know I would get all of it," but he was a low bidder, and so.
Congratulations, you won.
Congratulations. We got more to come. We're going to break this next lot up into lots of 50, and maybe we can get some smaller type contractors an opportunity to come in and bid with some of these. So there's just a lot of good things going on in Escambia County. There's always good things going on in Escambia County. We had the Bellevue Library that's, we're knocking on the door of that. We're still waiting on some windows and such to come in. There's a bit of I won't call it flooding, but there's some water standing in an area of the parking lot toward the back, and we're meeting out there this week. Somebody goes, "Well, it's 12 inches of water." I said, "There's no way it's 12 inches of water. 12 inches of water is pretty deep, and that
would be deep
water. It's about 3 to 4 inches that stand in one area of the parking lot, and we feel like we have a plan to address it with some simple pot grading and some grading off the asphalt. So, we'll take care of that. It won't be that big of an issue for us. But that will be a good amenity. It is coming together. We wish it was coming together a little bit faster. But with every other project we're doing right now, we're waiting on materials, it's delivery, price, it's labor, it's availability of almost anything and everything. And so, but we'll have it open here in the next 60 days, I think. And that'll be a great amenity. A good ribbon cutting for District 1.
Yes.
They're coming in there. And, I remember. Yeah.
Wes, can I ask you another question about the budget? You had mentioned the budget, and, it kind of dovetails with a lot of stuff that we're seeing at the national level. But I know that the departments are budgeting for $4 gas, but, the reality is we've eclipsed that. We're now at it's 467 in Florida. And many people think, and there are comments coming out of Washington, the geniuses that raised the interest rates and said, now they're coming back and saying, well, we didn't know inflation would go up. These are economists. Dummies like me knew it would. But anyway, we're going to be at $5 a gallon gas. Should we be proactive and should we shoot $5?
Yeah, I think Steph and I have talked, and I think we're looking at $6 a gallon. I don't know if that's enough, but, that's a huge jump from where we were this time last year. And,
wow. $6.
I'm here, and I don't know where it stops. I'm hearing people go, well, we're going to be paying $8 a gallon. We're going to be paying $7 a gallon. Every day I paid $4.69 a gallon yesterday, I think.
Yep.
Just to fill my truck. And it's, we're going to have to make some decisions operationally. And that's what I'm talking with some of the administrators and directors is we're going to have to seriously make some decisions operationally, because we can't just keep don't get me wrong, I love to give pay raises, but we got to level out at some point. And
no doubt. But the problem that you'll run into, Wes, and that we're all running into and businesses are running into is everything else keeps going up. I mean, the groceries, Debbie and I were just talking about it this morning. Your $200 basket at Walmart is now $300. I can't imagine what it is at Publix. I don't shop there. It's too expensive. And you got $5 gas that used to be $2.29. You got all these factors. And so our employees are going to keep coming back with their hands out. Our unions are going to come back with their hands out because, they need the money. So, I mean, now on the positive side of that equation, let's talk about the tax roll. And I know we're segueing a little out of disaster preparedness, but this is an important conversation. So first part though, are we going to budget $5 for 2023, or are we going to budget $6?
I'm saying 6. We're still working it, but I'm saying 6.
Okay.
Hopefully we don't get there, but if we don't get there, that's fine. We have a little cushion.
And then the other part of it is, the good news. Our tax roll, we believe, has gone up. Is it 14%? So what does that look like in terms of additional?
About 14 million. It's about 14 million.
About 14 million. Okay, good. So that'll offset some of that. But what is the impact? I'm sorry to hit you with this, but that's a stunning number. Going from 4 to 6, when a couple of years back we were budgeting 250. That's hard to swallow, no matter who you are, how big you are. What's that impact going to be? Is that an extra $1 million just for fuel, or do you have any idea what that?
It's about $1 million. I think it's about $1.5 million for fuel, and it impacts. Your folks in public works. We're on the streets. EMS is on the streets. Sheriff's Department. They're certainly on the streets. Probably one of the biggest users of fuel in the county. I mean, it's a necessity that has to be dealt with. And so, we're, the projection from the fuel budgets, and even this current fiscal year, we're going to have to take some actions with our fuel budget in the fiscal year we're in now.
Wow.
Because it's escalated so much. Mm-hmm. And so, operationally, we got some decisions that we'll have to make moving forward, but we'll make them, and we'll try to be as tuned in and as cost sensitive as you will, if you will, with the budget as we can.
So here's just a question I'll throw at you, and I'm going to look closely at your facial expression when I ask it.
I'm just going to smile.
Unlike the radio, we could see you. So when you have someone that says we should go to the rollback rate, what are you going to say?
No, we can't go to the rollback rate. We cannot do it. Operationally, we cannot do it. We rolled back the millage, I guess, when Commissioner Whitehead was in, and that was one of his things. And in 2000, and this, but in 2007, 2008, we went through a hard time. And I know just in public works, we cut $1 million out of our budget. And if you look at our current budget numbers in public works, we're below where we were in 2006 for our operational budget. And all the departments went through that and did that. And a lot of folks don't realize that. And so we have. And the thing is, once you cut a position, you hardly ever get it back. Once you cut your budget, you hardly ever get it back. But we're to a point now where, and I'm not saying raise the millage rate, but we certainly can't go to the rollback rate.
Sure.
We have to stay static in the millage in order for us to be able to do the things and provide the services that the people expect us to provide. And it's quite a bit countywide, the services that we provide. And
yes.
And it's, the cost to provide those services is going up like everything else you see in the economy. So no, that was the rollback rate is, in my opinion anyway, is not a good idea.
No, and I'm with you 100%. And I always like to say this because there are those purists, and I call them purists, but there are those in the Florida legislature who they try and put the local governments in a box. They did this when I was on the school board. And they say, if you don't go to the rollback rate and take in only the precise amount of revenue that you had the previous year, then you're raising taxes, and it's garbage. And I've fought against that. It's such an artificial construct. It's not fair. I mean, who can survive year over year on the same money when we've got this inflation that the government says is 8.3%, but everyone in the world knows it's more like 30%. Really, it really is like 30%. They're lying to you with the federal government. I asked Rick Scott this when he was in town last week. I said, how come the Senate is not giving us the real number? I go, we all know. We buy gas. It's doubled. It's not an 8% increase. We buy groceries. It's gone up at least a third. Eggs have doubled. I mean, everything has gone up. So in that environment, when you got everything going up, how are you supposed to survive as a small local government with the same revenue you had last year? That's why it's an artificial construct. And it's funny, some of the same fiscal conservatives in the legislature that want the local governments to advertise a tax increase just for keeping the rate static and growing their economy. They want us to advertise a tax increase, but they blow up their budget bigger and bigger every year. My first year on the school board, 06, the budget was $67 billion. Now it's like $110 billion. They blow their budgets up. They cut taxes, and what they do is they put extra burdens on local governments. They give us unfunded mandates. I know the game. It's a shell game. So to say all that, Wes, I kind of digress a little bit, but it triggers me to see them up there in Tallahassee doing this. When every cut they make, they put it on the backs of local school districts and counties and cities with unfunded mandates or raised rates for all different various things. So yeah, I think the rollback rate is terrible. Now, if you raise the millage rate, that's a tax increase. That's right. That's why I've never voted to do it year over year. But I think keeping the rate static and then growing your economy. We have a booming economy locally. We've got housing coming in. We've got development coming in. That's how you grow revenue responsibly. And sure, you might pay a little bit more this year, even with a static rate, but that's the only way to keep up with the services that people demand. I mean, when you build more roads, you got more roads to maintain. And then of course, as we're going to transition down to Eric, when you've got a bigger population, you need a bigger force of firemen, EMS, you need a bigger component of public safety. So folks never want to give up services, but they certainly would not hesitate to tell you to roll back the rate. I mean, there are people looking in the eye and said, you should roll it back or you're raising my taxes. And I just tell them, no, that's an artificial construct made by people 200 miles away in Tallahassee who play a different game altogether. And many of them have never served in a local role like this. I'll just say that. They come from a law office and they go straight there and they think they've never dealt with budgets year over year and dealing with the additional costs that we're going through. But I took too much time on that, but I just had to get that in. Hopefully people will see it. I always want people to know that. But Eric, getting over to you in public safety, tell me the challenges you guys are facing. What's going on in public safety? And thanks for being here.
Oh, no, absolutely. Well, things are progressing along here in public safety. We've hired, we got 9 cadets. We've got 9 fire cadets in the program right now. And
right on.
The good thing is 4 of the guys we brought them in and we put them through EMT school and fire school. And then while the George Stone was graduating a class, we went and met with the cadets and brought them on board with us. And they're waiting to take their state standard. So as soon as they take their state standard, that's 9 career firefighters right out the gate that we're going to transition those guys. So that's going to help fill the gap in some of the vacancies we had over in fire, which is wonderful. We're steadily hiring paramedics. We're onboarding 4 right now.
Right on.
No, absolutely. So we've got a lot of good things going on here. We got people coming to want to work for us, want to work with us. And, these cadet programs and these transition programs that we've done has really helped us out and try to bolster our staffing. Now, the downside is it takes them a little while because they've got to go through the classes and a progression. But when they get there, they're ours and we have them in our folds and they've already been through our training. So we don't have to wait, give them another month of training on the back end of their training they just got. So we're excited about that. It's really exciting that we've got that going on as well. Work with Wes and HR, and we just get an pay increase to our lifeguards at the beach. Right those guys are busy. This time of year, they're really busy. Yes. All the prevents that they do week in and week out. And then, when yellow flags are flying, everybody thinks, well, I'm a good swimmer. I swim in a pool. I do laps all the time. Well, the Gulf's a little different than a pool. So yes. They stay the busiest during yellow flags because everybody just, it's not red. So that means just do it with caution. And that's when the swimmers get in trouble. So our lifeguards very deservingly got a pay increase to be competitive with Orange Beach, Navarre, and the Panama City and those guys down the road. So this year we try to get about 70 something lifeguards, student lifeguards and seasonal lifeguards in for the tourist season. And this year we only got around 52. So we're hoping to go back out and bolster that back up as well. So with that offering.
Hey, Eric, let me ask you, because there was a news item, I think on MSNBC the other day, I happened to see it about lifeguards in particular around the country, and particularly some communities in the Northeast where they can't, their traditional budget of $10-11 an hour, no one's signing up. And so their pools closed in the summer. So luckily we're not there here locally, but you said typically we have 70, but now we have 52. Is that enough to keep all the lifeguard stations manned? Is that enough?
It is. So Casino Beach will be fully manned. And then we do the national seashore. So, okay. Langdon Beach, Old Beach, and Johnson's Beach. So if we don't have enough during the day, then we prioritize. So Casino Beach gets filled, Johnson's Beach gets, because they're so remote. We need lifeguards out there. So Johnson Beach will get filled. And then some here lately, we haven't been able to do Opal or Langdon. So one of the two will go down with it. And it'll be noticed that the lifeguard's not on duty. But we're hoping, like I said, with the pay increase, we're hoping that we're going to open it back up and try to get some more recruits for lifeguards. And I think we're going to fill the bill, to be honest with you. So pretty excited about that. Dave Greenwood and those guys out there do a fantastic job of trying to make sure they spread the resources the best of their ability to try to cover the most area on the beach.
No, they do a great job. And I'll tell you, I spend some time out there over the last couple months, and we're away from the crowd. We're down near Fort Pickens, and those guys are Johnny on the spot. They come back, they come around on the trucks, they drive by, they're keeping an eye on things.
That's it.
I tell you, they're very professional. We do have a great staff out there at the beach, and you know, you don't want to say you take them for granted, but it is certainly nice to know you've got trained, competent, young, strong men and women that are there to help you if you run into an issue. And you and I had discussed on a previous coffee, there was a significant event that happened out not far from where I'm at in Fort Pickens. And I mean, fire trucks, multiple fire trucks, helicopters. I believe several young people were drowning. And I mean, and here came the cavalry. I mean, one after another, lifeguard trucks, ambulances. I certainly hope that outcome was good. I know that there were folks that were caught in a rip current, I guess.
Right.
They're out there. But I wanted to getting back to the budget a little bit. I got some people online saying, you know, about the millage rate, Wes. They're saying, well, it's not raise the millage rate, it's restore the millage rate. Yeah. So I suppose these folks want us to go back to 2006, before the Great Recession, when Mike Whitehead was in this seat, and put the millage rate back to where it was before. But that would be a tax increase, because if we keep and let me just say this to whoever's commenting on that, if we did that, imagine right now we keep it static and we're going to raise an additional 12 to 14 million. If we changed the millage rate and put it back where it was before Whitehead switched it back, that would be a $20 to $25 million tax increase. Is that about right, Wes? I mean, that would be
that is exactly about right. Yeah, it would
so
be,
that
it
would be a tax increase.
A significant increase, yes.
Yeah. I got someone else talking about impact fees. Listen, I campaigned on those. I brought them. We've discussed them multiple times. And then we talked about transportation fees. I talked about concurrency. I've brought it to the board. When it comes to developing OLF 8, I'm going to put them on there. I'm going to put some kind of concurrency. But here's the issue. Number one, there's not 3 votes on this board. Every time I bring it, and it's been multiple times now, I've been batted back. Look, if there's not 3 votes, it's not going to happen. That's number one. Number two, I did bring them. That was a campaign promise, and I've delivered that. I can't make it happen by myself. Other communities do it. Now, here's the argument against it. And I listen. When I bring these things to the meetings, I listen as well. Other communities have an impact fee, but not all of them have a half-penny sales tax, which helps infrastructure. The impact fees or concurrency or whatever you want to charge, legally, they're being challenged everywhere they're brought. In Santa Rosa County, the school desperately wanted them. They still haven't sorted that out. It's been in the courts 3 years. And I believe the school district lost on that one. So I've brought them. It's just not something here locally that there's an appetite for. We do have the half-penny sales tax, where some communities don't. That generates a lot of money, 40 to 50 million yearly, that we could put all around the county in infrastructure. And the builders, you know, they will say that, look, you know, you've got the half-penny. We supported you on that. That's 40 to 50 million. It's spread around the entire community. And finally, you know, when you've got housing prices at a premium, you know, the builders, even if I could wave a magic wand and had 5 votes to implement stern impact fees, number one, it would be challenged in court. Number two, there's no guarantee we'd be successful. But number three, if we were, that ultimately gets passed on to the consumer. And right now, the buzzword is affordable housing. Affordable housing, that would just make things more expensive. So I see people online saying, you know, just bring impact fees, but that's the explanation. And that's where we're at on impact fees, concurrency, any other ideas like that. So I kind of segued. Sorry, I stepped all over you, Eric. I apologize. Back to public safety. Oh, how's the AmbuBus? I've been curious about that. Is that thing up and running now?
It's not up and running. So we had to get quotes on who can do the transition for the bus. And there's only apparently two guys in the country that kind of do this, and the guy in the Northeast farms everything out. But we finally got, as a, how we do our process for purchases and everything like that. The guy finally sent us a quote, so we're going to use a local guy. We're fixing to ship it off. The guy we had the inmates take the seats out of the bus and get it prepped and everything, so we didn't spend cost on that. So we're looking at getting that thing shipped off here like within the next 2 weeks, and we're going to get a pretty quick turnaround. We've already got the kit. It's going to go down to South Florida. They designed the wrap, so we got the wrap ready to go. It's fixing to be shipped off, and hopefully, I'm gonna be honest with you, maybe late July should be back and ready to go. So we're looking forward.
I hope that you will bring our CMR folks out and take
absolutely.
I want to come see it, and so
we'll give you all a ride.
Well, hopefully not land.
Not right.
Hopefully I'll be healthy. But explain the rationale for that. I think that's really neat. That's a local government work, and we got the bus from the school district. We're outfitting it, and then tell the viewers why are we doing an ambibus? What's it for?
So the ambibus is for mass casualty. So if we had a mass casualty event, God forbid a plane crash or a Greyhound bus or something that had an accident, and all your non-trauma alerts, not your reds, what we call your yellows and greens that need to be transported to the hospital, or your minors for quick transport, is instead of tying up an ambulance with 2 people in there in the back, we could put about 15 to 20 people in this one bus, go to the hospital and do a quick drop off. It also helps us out there, or Travis talked about hurricane season, or if we had a fire at one of our hospitals or anything, and we had to decompress the hospital really, really quick. So you need a huge mode of transportation to get people out from the hospital and ship them to another hospital. So it helps us out in that regard as well. During Hurricane Michael, I was in charge of decompressing Bay Regional, one of the big hospitals over in Panama City. And we use some of the ambubuses for the non-major, non-critical care type personnel to get those people out of the hospital and get them to another hospital, whether it be Dothan, Pensacola, Tallahassee Memorial. So it was great to have a large transport service to ship people out really quick and get a lot of people out in a timely manner. So the bus is versatile. It can be used for multiple things. And then it also could be used, if we have we have an event where we need somewhere to stay, put people in, our responders, to cool down an area. It's got air conditioners. So we can pull the bus out there on a major structure fire or something like that in high heat. We can put them in there, let them cool down like a rehab unit or something like that. So it's very versatile, but it's there to move a lot of people real quick is what it's supposed to be doing.
And how many patients, as I visualize a school bus with the seats the way they're laid out, obviously those get pulled out and it gets reconfigured, but how many patients can the ambibus transport when are they stacked up like you?
They are stacked.
Okay.
So walking down the center aisle of the bus, as you typically would, you got seats on both sides. You'll have racks on both sides. So it'll be a double stack rack with cots all the way down. Wow. Remember the old TV show MASH where they had
yeah.
Imagine that, and that's what you get with a yellow school bus. So yes.
Okay. Wow, I can't wait to see it. I'm glad we have it. I'm surprised we didn't think of it earlier. Now, the other thing I wanted to ask you about, and a lot of people are curious about it, is you see a lot of these standalone ERs now. We got Perdido Bay that's going nuts. There's a brand new one on 9 Mile Road, and there's another one further down 9 Mile Road in the new part of District 1, right before you get to the Lowe's. How many of those are we servicing with our EMS units running? I know you and David Torcell have been working that. So tell us about how that's working.
We're servicing all of them. So we hit all of them. So it's working really well. Building the interfacility transfer unit, IFT trucks, helped us out because before we had the interfacility trucks, we would take our 911 trucks, and as we had lags in calls or delays or times where we didn't have a 911 call on the board, we would take that 911 truck and it would have to go run. And of course, you had to have a minimum 2 trucks available, so you couldn't take away from 911 side. So we had rules, and it was just, they would stack up on us, and people will wait in these freestandings for hours on end. I'm talking about 10, 12, 16, sometimes 20 hours, because we do have a busy 911 system, a busy EMS system. So by dedicating a truck in the evening or during the day and during the evening times, when those calls come in, and usually those freestandings like to, decompress their beds in the afternoon. So you'll see the numbers stack in the afternoon pretty quick. That truck will do, we'll get out there and take the people out of the facility from the freestanding and take them to the main hospital. That's relieved us and taken some pressure off the 911 trucks that affords them to still. Now we still get those. Now understand those are freestanding EDs. We still have other inner facilities that we do, assisting living facilities. Sometimes we have cardiac arrest or things that go on there. Those are stat transfers. Those are important to us, so we treat those as 911 type calls, even though they're coming from a medical facility. So the IFT truck won't catch those. Our 911 truck will actually go get those as they should because they're emergent threats. But the freestanding, they're stable. The patient's stable. They can wait a little bit, and the truck will get to them in a timely manner. And the wait time has gone down. I think we're around the longest wait's like 4 hours right now. And wow. we was up to, 16, 20, 24 hours, somebody waiting in a freestanding to go from a freestanding to the hospital transport. So it's done very well. It's helped us out monetarily, and in turn, it's helped us take that money and put it back in the system to give our EMTs and paramedics pay raises.
Yes.
Looking at putting on additional trucks, growing our staffing with the pay raises. Now we can grow our staff. We're getting all the slots filled up with paramedics and EMTs, which is great. So we're not having manpower issues. And on top of that, we're going to be bringing to the board, hopefully next board meeting, ALS 360. It's a huge price tag, and we understand that, but EMS has got a way to fund it. And it's a 10-year contract that we can get all new stretchers, power load stretchers, life packs, stair chairs, and the EMS system is going to take care of all the AEDs in the county. They're going to update them and then give maintenance for all the AEDs in the county. So Dave Torcell is going to pay for all that, all the community parks, libraries, Elm Building.
Fantastic.
So that, and the price tag for that is going to be around $11 to $12 million for 10 years. Yes.
Woo!
We save $2 million right out the gate by going to this. And in turn, and that's at today's prices. We know things are going to go up. If we lock in with the 10-year contract, then we're locked in at right now's prices, and they will not go up, which is a good thing. So we know we'll save even more in the long run by doing this. And we're pretty excited of the opportunity. And that gives us brand new life packs. And in 5 years, the company then, we have an opportunity to trade everything in before 5 years and get the newest, latest, and greatest. Or at 5 years, the company says, you've had your stuff 5 years. They take it all back and they give us all brand new in 5 years, and we roll again. And at the end of it, we own the equipment. So we're not having to go scramble at the end of 10 years and they take it all back. We do own it. And then
that's a lot of Eric. That's a lot of money though, man. That's a lot of money.
Well, it's equipment that we have to have anyway. And it's equipment that we use. And so anyway,
how much of it could we buy with capital dollars? With
capital dollars?
Yeah.
With LOST?
Yeah.
I mean, we can buy life pack. One life pack is about $45,000.
Right. But I mean, I think there's some criteria. It has to be a durable product that lasts more than 5 years. I don't know exactly.
Yes.
But I mean, or else what would the funding source be? Would that just be your EMS general fund or?
The EMS general fund is going to pay for that.
Whew. Man, that's a big, I'm glad you brought that up. That I have to chew on that. I'm going to have to talk to you offline about that.
Okay.
Or that's just that, man, that's 11 million. That's a big number. But I mean, if we need
it's the cost of operating. I mean, it's one of those things. It's the equipment you've got to have in the service. And like I said, right out the gate, we're saving $2 million in that 10-year time frame at today's prices. So, and it takes care of everything we need equipment wise internally.
Yeah, no. I don't disagree, but boy, but I'll tell you the good news, the silver lining here is 4 new paramedics. So once everyone gets through the training in the EMS side of the house, are we still got about 5 openings for paramedics, or is that number?
I believe it's going to be less than that. And I'm hoping that we, and understand we still have 6 people in paramedic school right now that'll be fully certified in the fall. So they'll graduate in December, and we'll have our six additional internal paramedics that we've got to have spots for those guys as well. So we're running into a good point where we're probably going to have to come to the board and ask for additional FTEs, to be honest with you. Which is a good thing. And we needed that. We needed to get to that point where we can get more FTEs and put additional trucks on the road, and that's, and grow that system. So, yeah,
well, and again, unlike any other department, and I always like to say this, and this, you guys are an enterprise fund. So when you got more guys out in the field, taking calls, working,
right,
you're generating revenue and, hopefully enough to pay for your own operation and then maybe spin some off. I know we're kicking some over to the fire for their fire paramedics. And that's a good thing. So it's all good. Hey, I got another question from online, and it's kind of an open-ended rhetorical question. Don't really know if I understand it, but Rex asks, regarding property taxes, explain the basis for taxes on new homes and resales of older inventory, willing buyer, willing seller sets the value. Well, of course they do. But what we were talking about was the millage rate, Rex. And so if a willing buyer purchases a house from a willing seller, good. And if the price is high, fantastic. But if we keep the millage rate the same, if the prices go up, which they are, our total tax roll, we believe, is going up 12 to 14% this year. We generate more revenue without changing the rate. It's like the IRS. The top rate's 39%. You make 100 grand this year, you pay 39, percent of it. You make 200 grand next year, you pay 39%. You're paying more, but they didn't change the rate on you because the rate is stat. Now, when they change that rate to 45% or 50%, then they've raised your taxes. I guess that's answering your question. That's kind of my take on it. And again, Rex, that's how we generate revenue year over year without raising tax rates. We grow the economy. And I've been on the side of it when it goes the other direction. Wes mentioned 08, 09. We fell off a cliff. I was a school board member at that time. And what did the school board want to do? They wanted to, our property tax roll went down. We've got to raise our rates because we need the same amount that we had last year. I didn't vote for that. I said, no, people are losing their jobs. People are businesses. Remember how bad that was? And I said, there's no way that I'm going to sit here and say, we're going to take more money from taxpayers this year because we need the money, but they don't when they're losing their businesses. So I didn't vote for it. And we didn't raise our millage rate and we took in less money. I think it was the first time in the history of the world, the school board didn't take, the same or more money year over year. We took less money. Now, the next year they voted over me and they raised the rates, but I didn't vote for it because I think you got to take the good with the bad. And when things are going up, you keep the rate the same, you generate a little more revenue. But when you fall off a cliff, you got to cut back. You got to dust off the RIF book, right? RIF. Yeah. No one in government ever wants to talk about that. But anyway, I digress and I'm jumping all over Travis's time, but wanted to answer that question the way I wanted to answer it. So Eric, thanks for that update. And now the special guest of the day, Travis Tompkins. We're here. It's hurricane season 2022. So what do you want to tell folks about this year's hurricane season, Travis? And welcome and good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. Well, and it is what it is. It looks like we're being forecasted to have a pretty active season with at least 3 large storms potentially developing this year. And so with that in mind, though, we live on the Gulf Coast, and it's just not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And so we prepare for it regardless of what the year is. That forecast, to me, really doesn't even mean that much because we're prepared for it anyway. The county starts preparing very early. We've already had a rather large hurricane exercise that we did things a little differently this year. We brought everybody into the room and we had everybody brief out on what their position was, what they do before and after the storm and during the storm. And it got to where everybody kind of better understood that there's a lot of new people that were in the room. And so they got to witness kind of how it all kind of comes together, so to speak. And it showcased too what good partners we have. We have such good relationships, and it's the success that we have here in Escambia County with emergency management, public safety, just with the county in general. I think it's just we have such good relationships. Everybody works so well together, and everybody's willing to serve and jump in and get the job done. And so preemptively, we've already been working hard. We've trained up all of our emergency support functions. We've had multiple community meetings, and we continue to do that throughout the season. And so we're continuously pushing the message that our standard message being know your home, know your zone, know your home, and know your plan. And those are the big, and of course, we go in depth into each one of those.
Well, Travis, I know that the county website is full of resources. Be Ready Escambia. What would a citizen find when they go to that website? When they go to Be Ready Escambia, what are they going to find when they get there?
So, number one thing that we ask people to look at when they go to that website, and thank you for plugging that because that's where we send everybody, is the Know Your Zone. So you need to know whether or not you're in an evacuation zone or not. And so there's a big, large icon down there for Know Your Zone. You click on that. You type in your address, and that will then show you whether or not you're in an evacuation zone or not. And so that's primary. We want you to know whether or not you were at. So for instance, let me give you an example. Last year, the models changed, and we had about 2,000 additional addresses added to the Know Your Zone. And so those folks who might not have been in it before are now in that. And so we sent out a flyer. We were able to identify using GIS all of the folks that were added. And so we've sent them a flyer letting them know. And it's important to know, because I mean, if we call for an evacuation, it's serious. We don't, yes. we do not call for an evacuation unless it's absolutely necessary. And so if we call for an evacuation, it has got to be taken very seriously. The other is the Know Your Home. You know, what does that mean? So there's resources on there for hardening your home, to making sure that you understand what your window shutters need to look like. You know, the biggest damage that we have to homes is if that wind is if you're outside of the storm surge, if that wind knocks those windows in and starts to apply pressure to the roof to lift that roof off, that's the issue that can certainly happen. So we want to make sure that people understand the importance of shutters, the importance of making sure that that your beams are securely fastened. There was an organization that I think that's restarted checking out houses to be able to see if they're safe and sturdy, and that's but those shutters again are so important. But then knowing your plan, that is a great resource that's on the website. So we always used to say, you know, the first 72 are on you. We're really getting to a point. It's get 1 week ready.
Okay.
You know, we don't
wait. Now let me stop you, because that was one of the questions I was going to ask you. So we've been, you know, living here for many, many years, going through storms. The first 72 is on you. Okay. So you got to have water, you know, for 3 days, you got to have this, you got to have gas. But if it's the first 7, that's more than doubling the time period. So what necessitated that change? Is that just the average time with no power, or is it the average time till services can be guaranteed to all? What necessitated that doubling of the time?
Well, we're going to do absolutely everything we can to get resources in as fast as we can. But let me give you an example. Let's say, for instance, when the barges hit the bridges over there during Sally, let's say one of those barges that hit the I-10 bridge and knocked that out. Let's just take that for an example. That would have significantly impacted us, you know, in the sense, because all those resources from the state are coming up from Central Florida. And so that's just an example of something that could have happened. So Hurricane Michael over in Bay County, that was a Category 5 storm, massive devastation.
Yes.
It took longer than 72 hours to get some of those resources in there. And so again, the state did a fantastic job. We deployed there within 24 hours. Escambia County did, literally had to cut our way into there. But those are factors that we want people to understand. That, you know, for instance, with Hurricane Sally, there were a lot of people that it's okay, 72 hours, I'm done. You know, where are you now to take care of me? And so there's a lot of that. It's because, quite frankly, that's been our standard messaging. But it's really, we feel that it's important to make sure that citizens are prepared for longer than that, just in case. And that's not it's the food and water aspect of it for the most part, you know, making sure that, you know, we're bringing in that food and we're bringing in that water through points of distribution pods, but it's important to make sure that you've got that prepared. It's something that we're going to start stressing.
Let me ask you, because you heard Wes and I and Eric to a lesser degree talk about this cost of fuel and how it's really driving our decision making. I mean, we can't even escape this fiscal year without going back and doing a budget amendment to increase the budget for fuel, because it's just doubled. I mean, it's doubled in the last year and a half. And even though the federal government tells us inflation's 8%, they don't measure things that we consume, like energy and gas, right? Energy, gas, groceries, you know, consumables. They measure, I don't know what they measure. Maybe they measure salt or bananas. Bananas haven't gone up. They're still 58 cents a pound, but everything else has gone up. But with that being the case, are you concerned that maybe folks that perhaps don't have a lot of disposable income to start with, they're getting crushed with this inflation out of Washington, D.C., and then you combine that with the fact that in many cases their property insurance has gone up or been canceled. So they're spending money on other things. They're freaking out. Are you worried that this hurricane season, maybe they don't have enough money to buy 2 or 3 jugs of gas to be ready? Is that a concern?
I mean, with the price of fuel going up, and then we do have a lot of folks that are living at a fairly low income, unfortunately, and that's one thing that I can kind of give you an example, and it's for instance, when gas was, oh goodness, it was before it hit $4 a gallon. I filled up all my 5-gallon gas tanks, so gas cans, and so it's one of those things. Right now, if you have the ability to do that, then that would it behoove a lot of people to do that, because we are looking at gas potentially going up to $6 a gallon. So trying to preemptively do that, I think would assist some people. Another thing to bring that up with the food costs that are going up so much, we have let me give an example. So Epps Christian Center, E-Comfort over there off of Pace, they do a food giveaway. They give food away from 6 a.m. till noon every Tuesday and Thursday morning, and those are non-perishable items. And so a lot of it they give out perishable as well, but they do give out a lot of non-perishable items. And so you can go through there and get supplies of food. You could go through a couple of different times and stock that food, and then you would have food available to you in the case of a disaster. And so yes, food prices are definitely going up, but take advantage. People should take advantage of opportunities if they can, when they need to. If they don't have the means to buy that food, there are ways to get that, and then to stockpile that.
And another good segue here, Travis, is right now the state has given a sales, I think it's a 14-day sales tax holiday, started May 28th. It goes through the 10th of June. We got a couple more days. So let's tell the viewers, like, what sorts of items can they, and I mean, it's not a big savings. I mean, I hate to say it, with 8.3% inflation, the pack of batteries, and we know that it's probably more like 25% higher. So the 7.5% that you'd save, I mean, not to be depressing or anything, but it's a wash, but still, at least you're not going to pay state sales tax. What kind of items can people buy and take advantage of that?
Batteries, for sure. Like you just said, that's a biggie, because batteries are ridiculously expensive. I know.
They're crazy.
So I mean, generators are on there, certain types of generators. That is the absolute best time to buy one if you're going to get one. I believe we have it on our website of all the different items right now that you can purchase, and there are quite a few.
Okay, so if you go to Be Ready Escambia, and there's a link there that lists all the eligible purchases to be exempt from the sales tax during this holiday.
We do. So what we do is our news releases. Our CMR does a great job at that. So those are captured there on the right-hand side for our news feed. And one of those, I know for certain that CMR put that out on there that had what those items were, and that's captured on the website.
Okay.
And if you don't, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Please.
Speaking of media, that was one thing that I was hoping that we could discuss is that I use my own children as I have adult children that are married, but they don't watch the local news, and so they don't. It's like, Dad, there's a hurricane out there. I mean, that's literally how
Wow.
a lot of folks, younger, especially a lot of younger folks, are not watching regular television any longer.
No, they don't.
And
they get it all from this. That's
exactly right. That's exactly right. And so we're, so just to segue into the social media aspect of things, we really ask people to follow us on social media, because all those news releases, what we're just talking about with the sales tax holiday and what those items were, that was all posted to social media. And so CMR does a great job of promoting emergency management and promoting what we've got going on when we've got any kind of storm warnings or anything of that nature, all of that. And if you follow those pages, then those are the things that first show up in your news feed, so that you're weather aware. Because I'm just finding more and more, I think all of us are, is that people are just not that weather aware. I mean, and it's there. And so it's this last minute thing that, with people trying to, fill their gas tanks and do all that, we really want folks to be more preemptive. And when we when we have a storm in the Gulf, I mean, those crazy models can show it going, one day going into Houston, next day going into Lake Charles, next day going into Mississippi. I mean, they're trying to refine those. I talked to a friend of mine at the National Weather Service, and they have so much data that they're sifting through that's why there's so many different possibilities, and it makes it so much harder to predict where exactly that storm is going into. But when there's a cone of uncertainty out there in the Gulf, we all need to be paying attention to that and start looking at instituting our plans.
Well, absolutely. And I think the good thing about social media is now we have this plethora of sites that you can go to. Drop tidbits. I like spaghettimodels.com. Mike's weather page is fantastic. In fact, I would tell everyone, go to Facebook, Mike's weather page. If you've never been there before, he's kind of a funny character. He does webcast, podcasts. And then off season, he talks about blizzards in the Midwest. I mean, it's a great site. I check in all the time, but especially during hurricane season, because he'll give a lot of different models. And he just, I don't know, he's just got a great site. I rely on Mike's weather page, spaghettimodels.com. But let me ask you this, because this is one that Wes, I'm sure, could help me with. So say you're one of these guys that you try and do the best you can. You get the hurricane supplies, you got the generator, and you left all the gas in the generator after Hurricane Sally. So Wes, that gas is bad. What does a guy do? You got gas in the generator, you put the stable in there, but it's been 2.5, 3 years. If you try and fire it up, you're going to break the equipment. I mean, what you're a guy that's worked with equipment. What do you do?
Well, I'll tell you what I did. I called my buddy, Jamie Higdon, and I said, hey man, I need to bring my generator around to you. And he drained all the gas out of it and tuned it all back up and put some fresh gas in it and got it going. So it's a good point. If you do have a generator, and if you're like me, you were negligent and leaving the gas in there, take it to somebody that knows how to deal with it. And it took him all of about 30 minutes, honestly. It's all it took him.
I got to ask you, did he use the, what do they call it? Oklahoma credit card? Did he put one end in the thing and then, how did he drain it?
No, he runs his own business. So he's kind of got all the time to do it. I knew I wasn't going to be the one to do it. That's all I knew. But I did take it around to him. So yeah, it's a good point. If you have that generator and you left gas in it, now's the time to address that. Address it before the storm gets in the Gulf, because we all know how it is. Once it gets in the Gulf, everybody kind of gets frantic, especially if it looks like it's coming anywhere near us. Everybody gets frantic. The gas, people at the gas pumps are lined up. Grocery stores are running out of water. All those things are going on. And so, yeah, now's the time to address those issues.
Okay. Well, now, Eric, I got to ask you, you were cracking up a little bit, man, at the Oklahoma credit card. Isn't that what they call it? Or you just make a mistake you don't like it? Texas credit card. I mean,
first time hearing that, but it cracked me up. So.
Well, I mean, but I mean, in reality, I mean, I think the takeaway from this show, and I appreciate the updates and the conversation and Travis, I mean, great information, but the takeaway, I think the big takeaway is $6 gas. I mean, I'm just having a hard time with that. I mean, that's going to impact everything that we do, every product that we buy, I mean, I already see fast food. I saw a Taco Bell close. I see a McDonald's on the verge of closing out in Gulf Breeze. I think they're just having a hard time recovering. When you see fast food restaurants that are used to print money, they can't get anyone to come work at $15 an hour, $14 an hour, and then gas is $6. As a country, I don't know where we're going, but I think the biggest takeaway from this is we're going to budget $6 a gallon for gas. I mean, I'm hearing $6 is going to be what happens. And then when you see national leaders that manipulated our economy and our currency and our Federal Reserve, and now they say they don't understand why there's inflation. And then the president says, I don't know if there's anything I can do to make the prices go. I mean, what's going to happen next, Wes? I mean, what happens next in Escambia County when you've got all those factors that we don't control converging on us?
Well, we take it a day at a time, really, a week at a time, month at a time. And keep in mind, we still have 400 plus vacancies, even though we've been able to hire, we still have around that. And so what Stefan and our plan is, we've gone through the operational budgets. We've clawed back some money. And I'll say this about the departments. All the departments were very reasonable in their budget submissions. They really were. There was not a single department that just went unreasonable on us. They were all very reasonable submissions. But I think when we hit these kinds of times, I think with the generosity of the board, with all the pay raises, and the board's been very generous in that regard this past year. I think in order to show good faith back to the board, I think me and Stefan need to take a look at personnel, and maybe we need to reduce or eliminate some of those vacancies and some of those positions to try to ease the burden on the general fund. I mean, if we've done without these positions for a certain amount of time and we seem to be functioning, maybe I think there's a possibility we can eliminate some of those. And so that's some of the strategy moving forward, just trying to be fiscally responsible and operationally responsible.
Did we ever get our reimbursement from the last hurricane? I think we were 50 something million.
We got half of it. We're still waiting on our $44 million debris, the second half of our debris. And it's cleared. Liz told me the other day, she goes, well, we're right there. We're right on the verge. We're right on the verge. I think it's coming and within the next couple of weeks. And, she is, I'm going to tell you, she is a bulldog. I walk past her office and she has somebody on the phone and she's not cutting them any slack. She's created a great rapport with the folks at FEMA and with FDM. And she is really just does a great job in tracking that money and bringing that money back to us. And I really appreciate her and her efforts. But the big one that we're waiting on is the $44 million, the second half of the debris.
Do we know when that's coming, Wes? Do we have any idea when that's coming?
I think the last I spoke to Liz, we think maybe within the next 45 days that we should see that. I mean, it is right there. It's already gone through the state review. She worked with FDM to have them to go ahead and start their review. So that when FEMA finished theirs, it wouldn't be near the wait time from the state. So she's been extremely proactive in that regard. And honestly, she's gone back to 2014 and brought in $3-4 million out of that FEMA event that nobody was really tracking. So
yeah,
she's really been proactive.
Yeah, she's incredible. I see her emails all the time, and she's constantly cracking the whip on staff to get all their data in. Yeah, she would have been. You know what? She would have been a good debt collector. She would have been the guy that would have never given up. Eric, you need her on your uncollectible debt department.
Absolutely, I do.
Hey, we got just a couple minutes left, but I got a couple interesting questions here, so I think I'll throw these at Travis and Eric. And probably Wes. So has the county considered identifying low-lying places where cars get stranded? And I'll tell you what, I was going down Main Street 2.5 weeks ago when we had that freak thunderstorm. And I'm telling you, I drive a truck and I was worried about going through it, and there were cars going through it. Do we have some kind of, that's a great question. Do we have anything like that where we know, okay, this street's going to be a no-go? Do we do that?
We generally do know where our streets that are low-lying areas, and I'll tell you, it sounds overly simple, but during a big rain event, if you pull up Google Maps and you pull up traffic and you show all those low-lying areas that are cut off, like 17th Street, the bridge area floods every time we have a real big event. It's interesting. You see right where a lot of those spots are at. So we internally know where those are at, and we'll put those on our road closure board for temporarily. That's then also public facing. But it sounds like an overly simple resource, but it's a good resource.
Say that again. It's Google. You go to
Google Maps. Just Google Maps, and then turn on traffic. So
it'll tell you areas that are flooded.
It'll show you. Now it doesn't point it out flooded, but it'll show it red. And it'll just our normal spots that show up like that you'll see them right there. It's amazing the data collection that we get from something as simple as Google Maps. And
then another question that came in is what do we use what does EMS use to get to injured persons during flood events? I know the sheriff's office, doesn't he have a high water rescue?
Yeah. So the sheriff's office, they have a high water rescue vehicle that we use. We utilize with those guys, and we call them out and they help us out. But we also have, jet skis. We have a couple of boats that we utilize in escaping fire rescue. So we have those resources that will deploy to inland flooding issues, or like Bristol Park. We used a bunch of jet skis. We call in ESAR. We call in our community resources, FWC, Florida Wildlife. They have aluminum boats, shallow draft boats. We'll bring all those resources in to help us get people out.
Right on, right on. Well, gentlemen, an hour goes like that. Travis, any final words for the hurricane season?
I would just one last plug. We have disaster guides here at Public Safety, and they are free and available to the public. Everything that we've talked about is all on our website at Be Ready, but it's also all in that guide, and that guide is free to any citizens of Escambia County. So at 6575 North W Street at the Public Safety Facility, we can get you hooked up.
Okay. And are those available any other places? Do they have?
They are. All the libraries have them.
All the libraries have them.
All the libraries have them, and there's multiple organizations that come and get boxes from us. Different, like Rotary, Civic Tent, a lot of different. The hospitals get them, so they're out there, but we just want to make them available to everybody.
Fantastic. Yeah, that is a good resource, because there could be something in there you didn't think about. You might have everything and you're like, wow, okay, I forgot that one thing. Well, gentlemen, thank you again for your time this morning, getting up early. Great information, and it gave me a chance to pontificate a little bit. I always enjoy doing that. And we'll see you guys tomorrow at the Committee of the Whole. I know, Eric, we're going to have a little discussion about revenue, and that'll be, I'm not looking forward to it, but it is what it is. We got to do what we got to do. And then we're also going to talk about the medical examiner. So folks that don't typically watch committee meetings may want to pay attention tomorrow. There's some financial issues that we got to discuss that are, uncomfortable, but we got to discuss them. So look forward to that. But you gentlemen have a great rest of the week. Travis, Eric, Wes, I greatly appreciate you guys being on here, and we'll see you all tomorrow at the Committee of the Whole.